Now by the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, I'm told that your private pollsters are telling you that it is now very difficult for you to win a majority. Is that true?
No. We are 23 seats short from a majority, and the
facts... As long as you don't lose any seats to any other party.
And we don't intend to, but the facts of these elections is there is only one party that can achieve that overall majority and continue with the plan that's working, the millions of jobs being created, the taxes that are being cut, the houses that we're building so people can buy and own them. And that is the Conservative Party. I mean, the fact of this election is that Labour is facing wipeout in Scotland, and something very important just happened on your programme, which is Nicola Sturgeon saying that she would want to alter the course and the direction of the government vote by vote. And I think that is...
She'd have a right to do. She'd have had a lot of elected MPs in those. And
yes, but let's be clear about what this means. This would be the first time in our history that a group of nationalists from one part of our country would be involved in altering the direction of the government of our country. And I think that is a frightening prospect for people thinking in their own constituencies, is that bypass going to be built? Will my hospital get the money it needs? Frankly, this is a group of people that wouldn't care about what happened in the rest of the country. The rest of the United Kingdom, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, wouldn't get a look in. And that's the prospect that we face if we don't get the majority Conservative government that is in our reach.
You talk a great deal about what would happen if Labour had to form some kind of coalition. So it's fair for me to put the question to you, would you do a deal with Nigel Farage if you have to?
Well, we're not planning to do deals with anybody because we're 23 seats short from a majority government.
You may not get them. In fact, I can't see how you're going to get them. You're going to have to do a deal with somebody. Would you do a deal with Nigel Farage?
Look at the opinion polls. It looks like UKIP will be lucky if they have even one seat, whereas the polls are...
In the main opinion poll, you're behind Labour this morning. This campaign is not going as you would want it to go. You cannot be happy with where you have reached halfway through this campaign.
No, I'm happy that we're fighting the strongest and most positive campaign
but not
based on
but not winning it, Prime Minister.
Well, wait, there are 7 million people will be voting this week. Postal votes will be hitting people's doormats. And what I'm saying to people is, let's stick to the plan that's delivering the growth and the jobs and the livelihoods that's turned this country around. And I'm very happy that we're getting that very positive message across. I mean, this was the week we launched.
So you won't talk about any kind of arrangement with UKIP? That's not going to happen under any circumstances?
I'm not going to talk about anything other than winning an overall majority, because that's what I am campaigning for.
And yet you reserve the right to talk about the Labour Party having a
there's a fundamental difference, which is the SNP is a party that doesn't want to come to Westminster to contribute to a government. It wants to come to Westminster to break up our country. And so the prospect
UKIP wants to make us leave the EU, which you don't. So there's potential chaos on either side.
No, but there is a fundamental difference when you have a group of nationalists that want to be involved in the government of a country which they don't want to belong to. So you have to ask yourself, if you're a voter in England or Wales or in Northern Ireland, would these people care at all about what happens in my life and my constituents? And the answer is no. And frankly, we've already seen Labour cancelling important infrastructure projects in the south of England, in the southwest of England, the A27.
Well, they haven't been in power.
Yeah, but they've said we wouldn't go ahead with those.
So they can't have cancelled anything.
Well, so they've cancelled because they said we don't care about these things because they don't matter to us politically. Imagine what it would be like with SNP MPs backing up a week...
You're starting to sound, if I may say so, like an English nationalist politician.
No, I'm a fundamental believer in our United Kingdom. And
in which case are you suggesting that SNP MPs elected to the Westminster Parliament after the referendum, which you urged Scots to stay inside the United Kingdom, are in some sense second-class citizens and not legitimate?
They were full members of the Westminster Parliament.
And their votes are legitimate.
Andrew, you didn't interrupt your other guests in this way. Let me try and make a point. They have every right as members of Parliament, but they do have a fundamentally different approach to any other member of Parliament, which is they don't believe in the Westminster Parliament. They don't believe in the United Kingdom. They wouldn't be coming to Westminster to help our country. They're coming to Westminster to break up our country. And what Ed Miliband needs to do is rule out any sort of arrangement, because otherwise you're not only putting... It's not only about the money...
Hold on a second. You're asking him to rule out any possibility of them supporting him from the outside, even if he hasn't had any kind of conversation or negotiation. That's unreasonable, isn't it?
Why is it unreasonable? Nicola Sturgeon very clearly...
He's saying, don't you dare come through my voting lobbies? He can't do that.
Well, at the moment, he is saying that the only way he can become Prime Minister, because of the wipeout of Labour in Scotland, is by being supported by the SNP. But he refuses to rule it out. He's been asked many, many times. And it is a very frightening prospect for the rest of the country. But frankly, Andrew, I want to talk about the positive case the Conservatives have. I want to talk about the childcare we offer families to help working mums and dads.
Well,
I want to talk about the houses that we're going to allow people to buy, the taxes we're going to cut to give people more of their money to spend as they choose. Because there's a reason we are where we are, which is for 5 years we've taken long-term, difficult decisions to get the economy back on track. And from that strong economy flows everything else that we can do as a country. And it's not a negative point to make clear that we wouldn't be here if we'd listened to Ed Miliband, because he opposed every single decision we took, every saving, every reduction, and all the things. It's no accident we have a strong economy, but we could lose that economy by accident if we get the wrong government.
Let's come on to the policies then. Let's talk about housing. And now, in your announcement this week, you are using the power of government to intervene in independent private organisations, housing associations, to force them to sell their properties at up to 70% discounts to people and putting themselves in a much more difficult financial situation. Now, that may make sense politically, and it may even make sense if you have a huge house building programme to replace those houses, but you don't, and you haven't in the past.
Well, I think you're wrong on every count. I mean, what we're doing... I'll go through
the past.
First of all...
2011, you relaunched the right to buy.
If you ask me a question, Andrew, you've got to give me at least 30 seconds to try.
I'm just trying to help you, Prime Minister.
Well, when you're ready.
2011, you relaunched the right to buy, and for every house that was sold, you have replaced 1 in 10. So you've gone nowhere near replaced. The social housing stock is falling, and it's going to fall quite fast with this policy.
We built more council houses in the last 5 years than Labour built in 13. But let me address very directly why I think it's right to allow housing association tenants to have the right to buy. I believe people should have the right to own their home. We gave that right to council house tenants, and we want to do it on the same basis to people in housing associations. Now, we will build the extra houses for 2 good reasons. One is every house sold is a receipt that the housing association can then build a new house with. But crucially, we're saying to local councils that they should sell off their most expensive properties when they become vacant. There are houses in London, where we are now, council houses worth over £1 million. You could sell one of those and build 8 or 9 or 10 flats or houses. It's a very sensible approach. It will lead to more houses. And frankly, what I'm in this for...
The housing industry doesn't agree with you.
Often the housing industry, run by people happily living in houses that they've bought and they're happy to be... I want that for everybody. That's what this is for. Sometimes we talk about the details and the fact... Who's this for? Why are we doing it? We're doing it because I want more people to have the security of a good job, of keeping more of their own money, owning their own home, having a good school to send their children to. That is what I want from all the things that we've been doing over the last 5 years and what we'll do in the next 5 years.
When you were talking to Evan Davies, you said nothing made you angrier than the allegation that the Conservative Party was the party of the rich. Why do you think people feel that? Because you're looking at the polls, that's what the polls say too.
But what makes me so angry about it is I remember what we inherited. I remember who Labour hurt. Through their recession, they hurt the low-paid, the people who lost their jobs. And because they're still addicted to the extra spending and the welfare and the debt and the borrowing, they'd hurt those people all over again. And that's what makes me angry, because what we've done in 5 years, with difficult decisions, is taking 3 million of the lowest paid people out of tax, created 2 million jobs. That's 2 million more people with a livelihood, with a chance to say to their families, I can provide for you and build a better life. We've delivered and want to go on delivering for hard-working people who do the right thing, who put in, who are the backbone of our country. And that's why I get so angry and animated about this.
OK. Well, you also talked to Evan Davies about the £22 billion of welfare cuts you've made so far, as if that was easy. Do you accept that has hurt a lot of poor and vulnerable people?
Well, it has involved difficult decisions, but of course, as we've done that, we've been getting 2 million people into work, 900,000 people...
for you, a lot of real pain and suffering for people out there.
We have protected, for instance, the pension. We've protected benefits for the lowest paid. We've always made sure that we've increased spending on disability benefits rather than reduced it. But crucially, the 900,000 people we've got off welfare and into work, that has actually saved money, but it's also been good for our country and crucially good for them. A job is the best route out of poverty that there is.
What about